everyone. This is Flashback. Trying to make sure. And welcome to another reaction. Today we're gonna react to something interesting that caught my eye. So we're gonna react to TGS Anime. Excuse me, sorry I butchered that. Top 10 Yu-Gi-Oh's Overkill moments. I bet I know what one of them's gonna be, and believe it or not, I'm not too surprised because how deadly these things can get. Anyways, of course, if you guys want to see him, go to his channel. He actually does pretty good with Yugioh, if you like that. And let's do this. Let's see what kill we're gonna get. No.
Been pushed too far, or the influence of...
There we go. Gotta restart here.
Sometimes in Yu-Gi-Oh, when a duelist has been pushed too far, or the influence of evil is allowed to take over, you get to see one of probably my favourite things in all of Yu-Gi-Oh, and that is the Overkill, I'm going to completely destroy you with all my being style of dueling. You know what?
And I'm going to destroy this phone because you probably see in recording, this thing is flurry, so I'll be back. There, let's not have any more interruptions, please.
When a duelist abandons all of their previous philosophies on dueling and basically just completely embraces the I'm going to destroy my opponent mentally and physically by all means necessary. However, it doesn't always have to be because a duelist snaps in the middle of the duel. Sometimes, well, that's just the way they are. So for today's video I thought, how about we take a look at the top 10 times in the Yu-Gi-Oh series where a character went pure overkill and just flexed all over the opponent. I'd like to invite you all to my top 10.
Top 10. Number 10.
Take on all 5 of you simultaneously. Yuri from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 has always been a pretty unhinged character. You never quite knew if you were safe to be around him, especially with that disarming smile. However, at the end of the day, he was a psychopath. With a very obvious superiority complex too, which, unfortunately for his enemies, his skills did actually back up. Yuri was so confident in his abilities as a duelist that, just for the lols, sometimes he wouldn't use his actual deck in a duel. Instead, despite even the fact he's playing against top-ranked opponents like Alexis Rhodes and Sora Percy, he would use the mass-produced Ancient Gear structure deck, proving it was he and not just his deck that garnered him so many victories in a duel. And, well, that on its own could be seen as Yuri flexing and a little bit of overkill. That is not the moment I want to talk about. For me personally, it was when he was challenged by 5 duelists of Yugioh Duel School. Instead of taking them on one by one, he wanted to prove that he was just that much better than them all. And so
yeah, he pretty much beat them. Pretty much.
Although these duelists were unnamed characters, their decks, I must say, were nothing really to laugh at. Within their first turns, they managed to get out Ojama King, who limited Yuri's field, VWXYZ, Dragon Catapult Cannon,
Dang!
monster every turn, Super Vehicle Roy Jumbo Drill, that could inflict piercing battle damage, and Master of Oz, who had a whopping 4,200 attack points. Yuri, completely unfazed by the overwhelming odds that sat before him, just proceeded to annihilate them all. Not only did he beat all 5 of the duelists by himself, but to add insult to injury, he beats them all in a single turn with only his ace monster.
Dang!
Ouch.
Son of a bitch. Ugh. Probably turn. Oh, I know this one. Even though it doesn't really count because he didn't actually defeat him. In fact, he was saved by snapping out of it. But boy, I remember actually watching that episode. I usually, the type of Yu-Gi-Oh show, the Yu-Gi-Ohs I watch are either Zexal and Veterans.
Between Yuma, Astral, and Vector, upon being on the back foot, Yuma
but Zexal is probably my most favorite.
However, the merge fails. This was due to the influence of Vector messing with the darkness in Astral's heart. With this failure to merge, Astral forces the Zexal morph.
Yep, there it is. Son of a bitch.
He has abandoned all faith in Yuma as a duelist and a friend, meaning Astral takes 100% control of Yuma's body. This results in the Dark Zexal. In this form, Astral lost all compassion as a duelist. He dueled only with anger and didn't even care about the damage he took.
Yeah, he kept rapid firing that son of a bitch.
Using his number C39 Utopia Ray V,
which I have,
Chimera Clad,
which I don't have.
Continuously and savagely attack Vector's
no, seriously, I do have Utopia Chaos V.
Which, through the effect of Vector's trap, it did. In fact, was able to increase his monster's attack by 100 points more than Yuma's monster each time it attacked. So, Yuma in a berserk state leans into this infinite situation, where every time he attacks, his monster's attack points double, at the cost of 100 life points. He continues to attack over and over again, uncaring that his life points are slipping down to 0. He manages to get his monster up to 83,200 attack points before Yuma and
Dang.
would take control of the duel. However, had Dark Yuma been allowed to continue with the duel as he was doing, he would have been able to get a monster with 2,662,400 attack, where his final attack would have been impressive, but it would have led to his defeat.
Yeah, I definitely would.
Going back to Yu-Gi-Oh! 5, this time I'm going to be looking at Zark, who decided to have a non-stop dueling hype train against anyone and everyone who would join in before he obliterated the world. Clearly he must have got this idea from his 1/4 Yuri part. However, Zark, to prove that he is truly the strongest in all the world, duels 10 top-tier Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelists in a row, defeating the likes of Asta Phoenix, Sora Percy, Shea Obsidian, Kite Tenjo, Gong Strong, Jack Atlas, Silvo Saratari, Crow Hogan, Leo Akaba, and Declan Akaba, all in the same duel. Keep in mind as well, he had a habit of beating 2 duelists at the same time as well, to add further insult. However, while clearly this is overkill, there is a specific moment in this hype train duel that I think solidifies his
Overkill,
I guess. And it was when the Professor appears to duel him. Zark, what? Equipped with the very cards that sealed him away all those years ago, the Professor thinks he's going to be the one to save the day. This is not what happens. Instead, Zark immediately OTKs him, the very first turn he gets, going for irony as well by defeating him with the cards he brought to fight against him. Looks like you won't get a chance to play your special cards, and that's terrible! Keep in mind that the Professor was supposed to be the main central antagonist of the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! 5 series, until Zark appeared. So, it just kind of solidifies the fact that the Professor is a big fat letdown, whereas Zark, pretty OP.
Oh no! Spectre versus
For those
Lightning.
that don't know, one of the most powerful mechanics in the Master Rule 4 style of Yu-Gi-Oh! Dueling is something called the extra link. It's basically where, through a lot of skill and correct card combinations, you can make your link monster create a connection all the way from your extra monster zone to your opponents, granting you the ability to summon into their extra monster zone, and essentially lock them out of using their extra deck completely. It's tough to pull off, and it requires quite a lot of resources to get into it, so only a madman or someone that really wants to flex on their opponent would even attempt to pull this off. But in Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns, 2 characters dared to try this maneuver. During Revolver and Yusaku's final duel, Revolver, using Yusaku's Firewall Dragon, was able to create a link all the way around the board, making the first extra link ever seen on screen. And while this is impressive, one of Revolver's underlings, known as Spectre, actually one-ups this and does something a little bit more impressive. During his duel against the evil AI Lightning, Spectre was able to create what Revolver couldn't. The perfect extra link. Something that Revolver called completely locking out Lightning from using his extra deck and commanding complete field dominance. Spectre basically wanted to give Lightning 0 chance of a comeback, and for the most part, he did achieve this.
Dang. Kaboom.
However, sadly, he would not go on to win the duel. But honestly, regardless, it was still amazing to see. And with Master Rule 5 on the horizon, this could be the last time you see an opponent be locked out of their extra deck. Treasure it, I guess.
Dang. He was messed up too. Yeah, side
I still have a lot more
Oh, I remember this one too.
Giant Grinder! Imagine being in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe for a moment. There are professional Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelists you see on TV, and you look up to them, you aspire to be like them,
and they act like crap like everything else. It's not just Yu-Gi-Oh! We know this.
Sounds awesome, right? However, what you slowly start to realize midway through your duel is that person is an absolute psychopath. I won't be
I mean, it
happy
was.
until all my
Well, then
fans
again,
get
I should not be
exactly what
saying
they
that because he
deserve.
is kind of.
Yes, in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, a celebrity duelist known as
He's more
Quattro
hot-headed than
invites
Psycho,
Brock
but I can
and
see
Caswell
that.
to duel him because, well, he just loves to spoil his fans. However, in reality, he hates them all. He convinces them to agree to a battle royale, and even allowing himself to go last, despite the fact he would be at an even greater disadvantage. During the duel, he coaxes them to bring out monsters that he can use to manipulate the duel later on. Then, when he uses the effect of his giant grinder Xyz monster, he begins to take the duel in a sinister way. As he begins to use his opponent's monsters against them in order to whittle down their life points, and even after he makes the winning strike, he is still not satisfied.
Damn.
And begins to attack again.
Little damn.
The result is both duelists being slammed into the ground, with Caswell even breaking his arm from the impact. Everything's gonna be okay, Brock.
Not really.
But hey, at least they got his autograph.
Uh-huh.
Attack with Cosmic Flush! Strike him down!
I have the deck of
During
Dark
the alternate dimension
Worlds.
arc of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Well, you kind of
GX,
already know that.
Jaden gets into a high-stakes duel against Braun, Mad King of Dark World, who, throughout the duel, keeps sacrificing all of his friends through their negative emotions. He does this to meet the criteria for the creation of the Ultimate Fusion card, Super Polymerization. And, as well, he's probably just doing this to mess with Jaden. Upon witnessing the deaths of each of his friends, Jaden just thinks, screw it. I've lost everyone. It's time to go all out. As soon as you hear the most optimistic and fun-loving duelist of what I would consider every single series of Yu-Gi-Oh! Renounce dueling for fun and basically just going all in for revenge, you know something bad is gonna happen. I used to duel for fun. Now I'm dueling to avenge what you did to my best friends. It's payback time. It reminds me of a quote I read. There are three things all wise men fear: the sea in a storm, a night with no moon, and the anger of a gentle man.
Yeah.
I played the spell card Oversoul. When you hear that epic music play, you can see Jaden is ready for that overkill. He uses a combination of Neos, Assault Armor, and Battle of Sleeping Spirits to continuously beat down Bron.
Ha!
In his own words, witness him squirm. This onslaught gives Bron no time to counter and leads to Jaden's victory through anger. And it is from this moment Jaden descends into the being known as the Supreme King.
Dang. Oh, wow. I remember some of this, but I've never seen it.
In Duel Monsters, the objective is to reduce your opponent's life points down to 0. And that's it. Not to try and kill your opponent. What happened was Carly was snooping around the Arcadia Movement building as some real shady stuff had been going on there. Seiya, a psychic duelist who can make his monsters tangible, senses her approaching. Carly reveals she knows all about the missing children that have been sacrificed in order to find psychic duelists. And when she leaves this place, she's going to blow the story wide open. Seiya is having none of this, so he chucks her a duel disc and says, "You've got one turn, or else you're not getting out of here alive." You need to keep in mind as well that Carly is pretty much a novice at dueling. She's only ever dueled once before this, and that was with Jack Atlas's help. It is due to this lack of skill, she is very easily outplayed. Seiya, towards the end of the duel, uses his monster to attack her Fortune Fairy, which throws her straight at the window. Seiya was very capable of just ending the duel there. He'd clearly won, but he doesn't stop. He announces that her death will look like an accident, and so attacks again, throwing Carly out the window and down to the ground where she would die. Or if you watch the dub, she fell into a big purple cloud. Don't feel too bad though, as she is reborn as a Dark Signer after her death. And she basically does the exact same thing to Seiya out of revenge. In this case, I'd
That is...
I guess.
That was good. But still, that's fucked up. Really? Really?
Actually, I'm only required to remove 2, but I'm in a destructive mood today, so let's do this. Zane Truesdale has always been known to duel in excess, having a monster in his arsenal with 4,000 base attack that can be sneak through Powerbomb to give it 8,000 attack.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty overkill to begin with. I've seen him have plenty of duels where he goes over the top in terms of attack points, getting out a monster with 16,000 attack, for example, against Yubel, or 36,900 against Jaden. Yeah, they're all pretty big moments. However, the overkill moment I want to talk about is when Zane is on a real bad downward spiral. He has lost constantly after the defeat at the hands of Asta Phoenix. In Zane's lowest moment, he is convinced to duel underground, and is put in a situation where both duelists are attached with electric shock collars that would inflict real damage every time they were hit. Zane does his best to duel against the most annoyingly dubbed voice in the entire Yu-Gi-Oh series. Here we go! You're about to get a big boo-boo! However,
what the fuck?
Too strong. Zane, having had all his monsters destroyed and being mocked, begins to realize...
Really? And he's like muscle too. Like, what the fuck?
All this time I've been focusing on nonsense, like respecting my opponents. When I should have been thinking about winning.
He now understands that respecting your opponent in a duel is foolish, and you must abandon this way of thinking if you want to focus on what is truly most important. Victory.
Think. I know it with all my soul!
His voice becomes more jaded and uncaring. He takes joy in creating his Chimera Tech Overdragon out of all of the Cyber Dragons that have perished. By merging them all into one dark creature, he creates a monster with 4,800 attack and 6 attacks.
Damn!
And in one turn, Zane inflicts over 11,700 damage in order to wipe
It's
out...
not that serious.
With this
Dang.
moment, the birth of Hell Kaiser begins.
The Zane you think you knew is long gone.
Number 2. Monster Cardo! Ah, you... Sorry, the dang commercial kept up. This is the part I was waiting for, but I'm surprised it's number 2.
This is one of the most iconic moments in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'd basically be a fool to leave it off the list. During the Waking the Dragons arc, out of desperation, Yami Yugi plays the Seal of Orichalcos. Due to this action, he eventually loses the duel, and as a cost, little Yugi's soul is ripped from his body. I guess we could quickly mention this as well. It's only a small moment, but Yugi is seen as the bad guy in this duel because he starts sacrificing a bunch of his own monsters in order to deal as much damage as possible to Raphael. I mean, this act is seen as a bad thing. However, not that long ago, he was doing the exact same thing with his catapult turtle against Panic, and that was fine, apparently. But
well, that's because he was...
under the Orichalcos' influence, and everybody loses their minds. To be fair, though, he probably did just stop respecting his monsters and his cards, and that's probably where people...
Yeah, I was gonna say, that...
She's useless. I'll sacrifice my dark magician.
Alright then, fair enough. But what I want to talk about is what happens next. Racked with guilt for losing Yugi, the lone pharaoh ends up in a duel with Weevil Underwood. Weevil, just to mess with the pharaoh, says he has the only card that can save Yugi right here in his hand. The pharaoh, relieved, approaches to take what he believes is the only hope of returning his friend. But Weevil rips it in half right in front of his eyes. And it is at this moment that Yugi decides, I am about to end this whole man's career.
You'll pay for that. Hear me, Weevil? You'll pay dearly.
I mean, if you're even the slightest Yu-Gi-Oh fan, you must know what happens next. But Yugi
Yep.
plays Berserk Soul.
Oh, so that's what the card's name.
Every time he draws
Monster
a
card. Draw. Monster card. I know this. We all know this.
What about the next one? Oh, it's another monster card. What did you get for the next one, Yugi?
Monster Cardo. Monster Cardo. Monster Cardo. And then...
Needless to say, I think Weevil's It Was Just a Prank Bro had no effect here at all.
Yeah, really. Okay, so what topped it? Whoa, okay. This does not look good.
So, for the number 1 most overkill moment in the Yu-Gi-Oh series, for me personally, is the duel between the main character of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 series, Yuya Sakaki, and the 2-dimensional counterparts of his main gal, Serena and Yuri, who, keep in mind, are possessed by an evil parasite, and keep in mind as well that Yuya has the spirit of one of his alternate dimension halves inside himself as well. Yuya is a good kid. He wants people to smile, and he always helps those in need. At this moment, his best friend and childhood sweetheart, Yuzu, has been missing, and all he wants to do is get her back home safely. Throughout the duel, he begins to get pushed back more and more. He gets angry at one point in the duel, but Yuto manages to calm him down. Oh, this is probably important to mention as well. Yuya also has the malignant spirit of his former combined self within his body that, under intense emotional situations, can manifest itself and cause basically a whole lot of bad things to happen. Well, he resists the urge to embrace that darkness then, and when the doctor manages to sneak a parasite into his brain and attempt to turn him into an ally, luckily he manages to hold on to his sanity once again. Honestly, it's lucky that Yuya is such a chill guy. I'm sure nothing would get under his skin to make... Yeah, the doctor brings out the mind-controlled Yuzu, and he starts wiping his filthy old man hands all over her face, and, well, that's the straw that broke the camel's back. Yuya goes full berserk mode.
Actually, I won't blame him! That's sexual assault! What the fuck?
Odd eyes.
Again, you can tell I only watched mostly Zexel and Veterans. I haven't finished Veterans yet, but still, what the fuck? What the fuck?
And then you're screwed. Yuya announces there will be no next turn. And this is where he performs one of the most destructive attacks seen on screen, obliterating two, keep in mind, innocent girls being mind-controlled, going straight through them and blasting out the wall behind them, leaving them unconscious on the ground. Everything from the music, the monster's attack, and the emotions really fuels this moment, and the sheer amount of damage Yuya is trying to inflict in this moment personally makes it my #1 most overkill moment in Yugioh. And with that, guys, that is my top 10 overkill moments in Yugioh.
Well, long story short, I guess I take it back. I will take it back. Dang, I thought Monster Car Draw was one of the worst. And the reason why is, one thing he didn't mention, I gotta say this quick because I'm running out of data for this, but one thing he didn't mention was that thing was how bad it was. It was the Japanese full version, which you hear the Monster Car Draw thing, was actually banned. That's why it was never edited into the English dub. It was banned because, obviously, you know, it's just plain fucked. That's why, and they know that that's not good thing to show kids. But anyways, damn. That's plain damn. But still, I'm not too surprised. You know, I'm not surprised that they haven't gotten too dark. That's why they risked the new ones coming out. Looks like a childhood. They're taking a copy paste from Pokemon. Anyways, that is top 10's Yu-Gi-Oh! Overkill moments. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, I don't know what you will do. It's on your choice. But I'm Flockcat, and I'm quickly stepping out of here. Bye.